Jambo, everyone. This is Mija, founder of Jambo Books, and I'm really excited to be bringing you a series of interviews with people who are doing great things in the world and who have wonderful experience and knowledge and expertise to share with us. We're calling it the Reflecting Light series because what we're trying to do is just be a mirror to reflect the light these folks are putting out and trying to spread it to more folks so that more of us can see and be illuminated by their light. So first, we are speaking with Crystal Grimes. Crystal is the Birth to Five facilitator at the Rollins Center at the Atlanta Speech School. Crystal is a coach and trainer of other educators to help them to become the best educators they can be for our kids. And Crystal, along with the Rollins Center, has come up with a great strategy that we can use as parents to make our kids better and stronger readers. And luckily, Crystal will share it all with us. So I would like to turn it over to Crystal and first ask you the question that I ask everyone, and that is, how old were you when you first read a book that starred a character who looked like you?
Wow. Well, first, I want to just say thank you for having me. I'm so excited to join this series. I'm so excited to have conversations with you and share with all of your viewers and the families who have tuned in. So, thank you very much. And when I think about my childhood and storytelling, of course, I remember the classic stories like Three Little Pigs, even the Bernstein Bears. I'm probably aging myself by sharing these titles. Miss Nelson series. I don't remember many storybooks that had characters that looked like me. What I do remember is the oral traditions and stories that my uh, family passed along or shared with me. So having my dad and my mom to read stories maybe from the Bible or just stories that they made up along the way that reflected maybe our traditions and our heritage. But you're absolutely right. Like, I can't think of a story that included characters that look like me, and we've come a long way. And I think that is so important, that characters are reflected, that we can see ourselves in the storybook. We've come a long way. I can think of several books to include some in your series online, shades of black, things of that nature, many stories like that are included now that help to tell the story. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
And before we start, I just want people to get a sense for, where you are in the constellation of literacy. So, I thought the Atlanta Speech School was actually for kids that had speech issues, who needed speech therapy. So explain to us, what is the Atlanta Speech School?
Yeah. And so it is. And so it is more than just one school though. The Atlanta Speech School is actually known as the nation's most comprehensive center for language and literacy. So it includes many schools and programs and clinics. And as you mentioned, the Rollins Center for Language and Literacy, which is the professional development center of the Atlanta Speech School. And so, yes, so we take the practices in Rollins, and they're the same practices that are used in the speech school, and we share them with community partners and other schools. And even on our Cox Campus, which is our professional learning uh, free platform where teachers, educators, healthcare workers can all tune in and take courses or view resources and share in even community platforms or chats to help just dive deeper into the content and into the topics. But again, yes, the Atlanta Speech School is a comprehensive program and a comprehensive center that offers many services that are research based, rooted in the research, focused on the brain science. And it's all about just transformational change for not only children, but also adults to help make sure that we are reaching our highest potential through language and literacy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Now, before we jump into the strategies, are these strategies for all children or just for children who might be having trouble with reading?
Oh, I like to look at it as more of a proactive approach, to try to overcome or to get ahead of any um, reading language concerns and issues. So this strategy can absolutely be used across the board and with all families.
Okay, great. Then let's jump into the strategy.
Sure.
I think I may have mentioned that the strategy is READ. It's read. And today we are jumping into the R. So tell us, what is the R of the read strategy?
I will do that. Can I share my screen with our viewers?
You.
Appreciate it. I don't know about you, but I love a good visual to
Yeah.
help remember what I am talking about, what I am reading about, things of that nature. So, again, you've mentioned that we are jumping into the read strategy for families. And so, on the screen, it outlines what each letter represents. Repeat the book, engage and enjoy, ask open-ended questions, and do more with the book. I can't wait until we explore the other letters, but for today only, we'll look at the R, repeat the book. And so that is just what it says. We can read a book multiple times. Just like even for us as adults, you know how you can watch a movie multiple times and you can still get something new out of that movie. Uh, After the 10th watch of that movie, I didn't recognize that she did that before. Well, that's the same way that it is with books with children. The more we read books, we encourage them to, number one, have a love for books. They want to just, enjoy the story and read more about what's going on with the characters or what's happening in the story that we are reading. And so it also exposes our children to more vocabulary, which of course helps with reading comprehension. So we want to repeat the book multiple times. And we actually say, try to repeat it at least 3 to 5 times, more if you need to. We know, again, children love repetition, but it's even a strategy with how we repeat the books. So the first time or the first few times, you really just want to focus in on the events of the story. What's happening in the story? What are the characters doing? We want to use think alouds. We want to really just key in on vocabulary and key events of the story. And maybe when you get to the second read of the story, or like I said, more if you need to, then you want to focus on the emotions of the characters. Why are they feeling that way? He looks sad. I wonder what's happening. So you really want to zoom in again on that key vocabulary associated with those emotions too. But you really want to zoom in on the characters and what they are feeling. And then on the third read, you want to allow the children to become the storytellers. On the first couple of reads, when we pushed in lots of great vocabulary, use those think alouds. I wonder what's happening in the story. I wonder what's happening with that character. As they're hearing the story multiple times, by that third to fifth read, again, depending on how many times you choose, then the child becomes the storyteller. You've pushed in language and now you're able to pull it out a little bit. And so we have even another strategy that's connected with that. But before I go to the strategy connected with the R and read and repeating the book, this screen really just tells us again about why it is so important to read the stories in an interactive way. Again, the children are more engaged with the story and the text when they're involved with it and reading the book multiple times. The children understand more about the story and the world around them through books. Books are a great way to help to share what's happening in the world with our children. And then sharing stories in a interactive way provides meaningful context for learning about new words. So, simply put, the way books are shared with children, even from a young age, it matters. It really, truly matters. And so let's get to the strategy that I was speaking of, that is connected with really with all of the read strategy, but I want to zoom it in here on repeating the book, because the more we repeat the book, we can do something as simple as pat vocabulary that will help the children to make connections with the story itself, the pictures, the words that are being used. So when we say pat the vocabulary, that is actually noted on the screen, on the side of your screen. You can point to a particular picture in the story that's connected to vocabulary. You can even act out a word in the story, or you can tell a child friendly definition of the word. So, in this example on the screen, of course, we see the dog who's sniffing the flowers. So, we can actually point to the flowers because maybe that's a word that the child is not familiar with. We can act out smell. So you can sniff a few times just to help them to make the connection, or you can tell that child-friendly definition. So smell and sniff, or to smell or sniff is, the same thing. So again, point, act, or tell. So we want to pat the vocabulary as we are reading the book multiple times.
Well, thank you so much for that. That is really, really great. And I will tell you that I did try that sort of pat the vocabulary with my 9-month-old, and she 100% thinks I'm crazy. I was like sniffing the book, and she looked at me like, I made her sniff the book. And I think we're going to get there, though. I think we're going to get there. It was a really fun way for me, too, to enjoy, a board book, which, isn't always the most, scintillating story. So I really appreciate you giving us these options.
Let me zoom in on that. I can't resist. So much is happening when you engaged your daughter with that storybook read. Some may ask, why would I be silly or repeat the story and keep asking questions if my child cannot talk back with me, or if they're not responding in a way? Well, guess what? They can listen. And as we share, they're listening and we're building their receptive vocabulary. And as they build that receptive vocabulary, with the brain is making so many meaningful connections along the way. And then they will then be able to express it later. They'll use their expressive vocabulary, and you will hear all of the great vocabulary and words that you pushed in with your daughter. And just the silly faces, again, that gets their attention. That's where they get to have fun. And that's where we're going to explore, engage, and enjoy a little bit more in our next session. So you don't want to miss it. But they get to zoom in on what you're doing and what you're saying. And that relationship, though that bond is being formed to not only help with what you all are doing together, but also with making that connection with the book and building that love for reading. So I love that. And thank you for sharing that experience with us.
Well, wow. Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear that it was good and not just my child starting to think that her mom is a little bit crazy.
Trust me, her brain was firing off with so many connections just from that simple but powerful interaction that you had.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. We cannot wait to get to EAD and the rest of the tips and tricks that you have for us. Thank you for sharing your time with us today, Crystal.
Absolutely. It was indeed my pleasure, and I look forward to the next session.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.